What if one man was so powerful that the Senate stabbed him 23 times? Not because he failed Rome, but because he ruled it too well. This isn't just the story of Julius Caesar. This is the story of how ambition shattered a republic and created an empire. Julius Caesar was born into a noble Roman family, but in the cutthroat world of the Republic, noble blood meant nothing without real power. Rome was brutal. Political enemies weren't just debated, they were destroyed. From a young age, Caesar navigated a treacherous landscape, surviving exile, execution orders, and even poverty. He didn't just inherit his position, he forged it. He studied the art of war, mastered persuasion, and most importantly, he understood people. While the Roman elites hoarded power and looked down on the common folk, Caesar spoke directly to the masses. He passed laws to help the poor, staged magnificent games, and built public works. He didn't just command loyalty, he earned it, building a base of support that would become the foundation of his power. Then came Gaul. For nearly a decade, Caesar was away from Rome, leading his legions in a brutal and relentless campaign against the Gallic tribes. These weren't simple skirmishes. He faced warriors who often outnumbered his own troops, who were fighting on their home turf, and who resisted Roman expansion with fierce determination. And yet, one by one, he crushed them. His strategies were brilliant, his leadership was inspiring, and his army became a hardened, professional fighting force, intensely loyal to him and him alone. Over 1 million enemies were defeated, entire regions were conquered, and Rome's territory expanded dramatically. But Caesar was more than just a general. He was a master of propaganda. He didn't just win battles. He wrote about them in his famous Commentaries on the Gallic War. Every victory was carefully documented and sent back to Rome, not as a dry military report, but as a thrilling narrative that built his legend. He portrayed himself as the heroic defender of Rome, single-handedly securing its borders and bringing glory to the Republic. Back in Rome, the Senate was no longer just watching Caesar's rise. They were starting to fear it. His army, his wealth, and his popularity with the people made him the most powerful man in the Republic, and that was a threat they couldn't ignore. The tension finally snapped. The Senate, led by his rival Pompey the Great, gave him a choice: lay down your command and return to Rome as a private citizen, or be declared an enemy of the state. To return without his army would mean certain political, and likely physical, death. Caesar stood with his legion at the Rubicon River, the legal boundary that no Roman general was allowed to cross with an army. Crossing it meant civil war. For a moment, history held its breath. Then, he uttered the words that would change the world forever. Alia iacta est. The die is cast. He led his army across the river. The war for the soul of Rome had begun. The civil war was swift and decisive. Caesar's hardened veterans outmaneuvered and defeated Pompey's forces across the Mediterranean. Pompey himself fled to Egypt, where he was assassinated. One by one, Caesar's enemies fell. The Republic, which had stood for nearly 500 years, effectively collapsed under the weight of his ambition. Upon his return to Rome, he wasn't just hailed as a hero. He was declared dictator for life. He began a sweeping series of reforms. He fixed the crippling debt crisis, expanded Roman citizenship to people in the provinces, reformed the calendar, and restructured the government to be more efficient. The common people of Rome loved him for bringing stability and prosperity after years of chaos. But the Senate, they panicked. In their eyes, Caesar was dismantling their traditions and concentrating all power in his own hands. Kings had been driven out of Rome centuries before, and now it looked like Caesar was becoming one in all but name. On the Ides of March 15, 44 BC, they decided to act. As Caesar entered the Senate House, a group of senators surrounded him. These weren't distant enemies, they were his friends, his allies, men he had pardoned and promoted. They pulled out hidden daggers and struck 23 stab wounds. Legend says that when Caesar saw his protege, Marcus Junius, Brutus, among the assassins, his resistance ended. With his last breath, he fell at the foot of a statue of his great rival, Pompey. Rome had murdered its greatest leader, believing they were saving the Republic. They were profoundly wrong. Caesar's death didn't restore freedom or bring back the old Republic. Instead, it plunged Rome into more than a decade of bloody civil war, a power vacuum that destroyed the last vestiges of the Republican system. From the ashes of Caesar's legacy rose his adopted son, Octavian, who would become Augustus, the first Roman emperor. Caesar's assassination didn't prevent a king, it guaranteed an emperor. The Republic was dead forever, and in its place rose the Roman Empire, an age of emperors, absolute power, and a new world order. Julius Caesar didn't just rule Rome, he ended one era and, through his life and death, created another. If Caesar were alive today, would he be called a tyrant or celebrated as the greatest leader in history? Let me know what you think down in the comments. Subscribe for more stories of legendary rulers, conquerors, and the killers of history. And make sure to like this video if you believe Caesar changed the world forever. Because history doesn't remember the cautious, it remembers the bold.